welcome to the Arnold Sisters. I can't talk. That's a good start. What's up, you guys? It's Lindsay here, and I am so excited to be doing my Disney Night Week 3 Dancing with the Stars recap. Disney Night is the most magical night ever. Honestly, though, it truly is my favorite. We as professionals, dancers, we love performing on Disney Night, and we also know that the audience really enjoys it, so I feel like it just makes it so much more special, and I was so happy and excited about how last night turned out. I was a little bit curious because typically in the past on Disney Night, we either go to Disneyland or we film at Disneyland or the packages or something to do at Disney, and I knew that this season it would have to be a little bit different because of COVID and all the restrictions. So I was curious to see how they would bring the magic of Disney to the ballroom, and they absolutely did that. I thought we saw some, because here's another thing with Disney Night, it is tough because there's only so many Disney movies and there's only so many Disney songs that you can dance to. So it's like, how do you make it different? How do you make it unique? And I feel like they did such a great job. We saw so many fun costumes that I feel like we've never seen before, which is hard to do. Like I said, when you are doing Disney Night and you're using some of those same characters, but I feel like the wardrobe did an incredible job with making these costumes so unique and different, but also still really like paying tribute to the characters that they were playing. So yeah, that's my 2 cents. Well, I wanted to start this video out by answering a couple questions that you guys have sent in on the last couple recap videos, because I want to make sure I'm giving you guys the inside scoop that you are looking for. So if you don't hear your answer or your question answered today, go ahead and leave a ton of questions in the comments on this video so that next video I can make sure I answer those for you and give you all the inside scoop. So let's just answer a couple. Okay, this one asks, I would love to hear how they pair everyone up each season. Is it random? So it's definitely not random. It's very much, it has a lot to do with, well, it has to do with a lot of factors. We aren't involved in this process, so I can't say I know exactly how they pick every single partner I've ever had. But over the years, I've seen kind of patterns. They definitely look at personality type. They look at height, age, skill level. It's very much, they try to like match you up. It's almost like Match.com. Seriously, like we have our casting director and she has a great skill and like she knows all of us pros really well, knows our personalities, knows the things that we're really good at, things that we're not as good at maybe, and she pairs us with people that she thinks we can bring the most out of. So it's honestly, I don't think it's random in any sense at all, but it is interesting because I would say like, I've had a very wide range of partners, different personalities, different skill levels, and so it's not like they just stick you with the same person every single season. They really do look at what they think you guys could do together, and they do a great job of that. So that's kind of how they choose that. But like I said, we are not aware or informed, or we don't have any opinion on that. We just show up and say, who are we dancing with? That's basically how it goes. Okay, this one says, would love to hear who you think you would have been partnered with and or who you have wanted to, who you would, oh my gosh, I can't talk. Who do you think you would have been partnered with and who would you want to be partnered with? So, like I said, I have had such a wide range of partners that it's hard to say like, this is my type, but I do feel like I have been with a lot of athletes, especially the taller athletes, because I'm one of the taller pros, kind of. I mean, we're pretty much all the same height, but I think I look really tall because my arms are really long, so I usually get paired with taller partners. So in that sense, Vernon Davis, I'm like, okay, yeah, I could totally see myself dancing with him, and I would love to dance with him. He is such a fun personality and just seems like such a good guy, but genuinely every single male celebrity on the season has something super awesome and special about them. They're all different levels of dancing, but they all have this really cool thing that just like makes them memorable. Like I remember every single guy's performance every single week. I don't have to be like, oh, what did they do again? Because they all bring something really unique and fun to the table. So I would dance with all of them at the same time. Can we do that? Cool. I'll have 6 partners next season. Can you explain why some dances are allowed lifts and others aren't? This is a very good question. And I guess we never really explain it on the show, but in international Latin and ballroom dancing, when you are competing, if you were to do a lift in a competition, you would be disqualified. So that's something that is never allowed in competitions, in the international dancing world. So they definitely brought those rules to the show. So when I'm talking about international Latin and international ballroom, I'm talking cha-cha, samba, rumba, paso doble, and jive, as well as waltz, tango, Viennese waltz, foxtrot, and quick step. You are not allowed lifts in any of those dances. And that's kind of how they got that rule, because that's what growing up we all followed when we were competing. So those are the dances that are absolutely not allowed to have lifts in them. The dances that are, like salsa, jazz, contemporary, Argentine tango, those styles are allowed to have lifts. And if you were competing, you would be able to do lifts in those as well. So it is very fair because they do follow the rules the competitive rules that we all grew up training in, and that's how it is in the ballroom world. But it is hard because I know a lot of you guys have, I get comments all the time about people being like, why does Carrie-Ann go so hard on the lift rule? And the lifts I get, if you do a lift in a style that does not have lifts, totally. But it's more those ones where it's like, you didn't do a lift, but maybe your foot came off the ground for a second. That's where it's like, okay, come on. But, I mean, to be fair, that is the rule, so I guess we just have to deal with it. And I'll do this is the last question. How do you pick the style each week? Are you assigned one, or does the pro pick the dance? So this is also a good question. Most of the time, we are assigned a dance style. We sometimes are also given music, sometimes we have input. It very much depends on the theme that week, what your partner likes. At the beginning of every season, I always chat with my partners. I get a list of music that I know they love, things that fit their personality. We go through any possible themes like most memorable year or Disney night and ask them, is there any song that's really memorable to you or important to you that has to do with this theme? We submit that music and those ideas at the beginning of the season to the producers, and then they usually try to fit it in wherever they can if it makes sense. There are certain times where there's not really room for that, and they kind of just say, this is what you're doing, but there's definitely a little bit of like, there's definitely communication there. So it's not like we're just completely in the dark being told what to do, but sometimes that's the case, especially like tonight on Disney night. They can't just pick whatever movies they want to use. They have to get it approved. They have to get the licensing for it. Disney has to say, yes, this is what we want you to do. So those are the nights where it's a little bit more like you kind of just get what you get. So yeah. Well, yes, like I said, if I didn't answer your question, which I didn't get to all of them, please leave your question below on this video so that next week I can go over a few more, so that I'm giving you guys a little bit of the inside scoop. Okay, let's get to the show. So, we open the night with my little cutie, Skye and Alan. I love Skye. I think she looked so beautiful and so mature. I loved her short hair. I loved her costume. I just think it was such a beautiful look for her. And it was really strong opening the night with that. They had a jive. Last week they had a slip up. Literally, they slipped. And it was something that I feel like could really like throw somebody off and make them kind of get out of the game a little bit, but I do not feel that happened with Skye at all. I could see that she was pushed even more to want to be better this week, and she was. Jive is a really, really tough dance. It's stamina-wise, it's tough. Technique-wise, it's tough. And on top of all of that, you're trying to portray a story and play this character because it's Disney night, so it can be a lot. Their scores were 666, which is low in my opinion. I would have given a 7. I don't think it was a perfect jive. I think the character and the energy put into it was awesome, and I think Skye really went for it. But like I said, jive is hard. It's really hard to master kicks and flicks. It's hard to master that technique. And also because she's so tiny, I feel like it felt a little bit too high instead of really like getting into it, which is interesting because jive is very uppity, but I think it was almost a little bit too much. But she did a lot of really hard steps. Alan did not give her an easy jive at all. She had a lot of technical steps in there, and I think she did a good job, honestly. I do. I think 6s were low. I would have given a 7, and I think she just has a lot of potential and room to grow, and that's what's so cool about the show, is that's what it's about. So I'm excited to see her just continue to get better and better. Okay, next we have Monica and Val. I've been super annoyed and bummed at the judges' reactions to her dances the past 2 weeks, so I was like, come on, we need to have a great night for Monica. She's got this. She looked beautiful. Her hair, oh my goodness, those mermaid waves, I'm like, great. Very good stuff. They had a Viennese waltz, and I thought this was such a beautiful dance for her. You can tell that she's really focusing on those fine details, which is credit to Val, because I'm sure he's really pushing those on her, but also good for her, because a lot of people can just be like, you know what, the best I can do is just do the choreography. I can't think of anything else. But you can tell that she's really putting time and energy into thinking of those extra things, like arm movements and being graceful and performing. The only thing that I feel is missing, kind of similar to week 1, is her top line is still a little bit hunched forward. So instead of her creating that beautiful like V shape with Val, she's kind of just bringing it forward just a tad, and I feel like we're missing that extra bit of like grace and elegance from reaching back. That is hard to do, and it's hard to maintain. I mean, it's so much easier said than done, and it's hard because in rehearsal you can be like, hey, let's get into that nice beautiful frame, and you can start strong, but once you start moving, it's hard to maintain it. So that's one thing I would have her work on. They got 777, which I think is a great score. I think I agree with that. I mean, would have loved to see just like maybe 1-8, but I'm glad they were 7s, not 6s. She needs to be out of that because she's killing it. Okay, next up, Justina and Sasha. This was such a fun dance. I loved that they had the Charleston. I was super excited to see her do this because I feel like week 1 we saw her with her cha-cha and she just brought so much heat, and then last week was more elegant and graceful, so I was really excited to see her just bring this like super fun personality. I thought the choreography was awesome. I thought the dance was exciting. I was super frustrated with the scores. So they got they got 7-6-6. Now 6s are very low for what this dance was. Justina was moving, doing a lot of choreography. The judges called out for not having enough Charleston in there, which I've been the culprit of being called out for not having enough Charleston, so it's frustrating. I get it. I get that sometimes the judges just need to call that out. It does feel a little bit weird hearing anybody but Len calling you out for that. I will say I do miss Len in that sense, because when it comes from Len, it's like, okay, I get it. You kind of expect it, but when it comes from like anyone else, it just feels odd. But anyways, that was okay, whatever. But then they felt like they said that they didn't think the energy was quite there, and that Justina didn't bring the energy as much, which I was super confused about, because that's like the main impression I got from the routine was just this like super fun, energetic level. So I don't know. I mean, maybe in the ballroom it felt different, but on TV it looked awesome. I was very confused. I thought they should have gotten way higher scores, but whatever. I'm not worried about them because they are awesome. I know they'll bring it next week, so we're good to go. Okay, next up we have AJ and Cheryl. I love AJ because he commits so much to every performance that he does, and not just in a commit where he's like, I'm gonna smile and dance. It's like he actually portrays and tells a story, and it's so cool watching him get into that and love it and go for it. Again, I think this was similar to last week. I still don't think he's quite nailed his frame yet. I think it's a little bit hunched and not as broad as it could be. So that was the only note that I had for this routine. I think the performance quality was great. He was doing all the footwork. It was just his frame still just felt a little bit like congested instead of opened. So that would be what I would work on. They got a 7-7-7. Performance quality wise, I would have given it an 8 for sure. 7 I agree with in the sense that it wasn't as refined as I think I wanted it to be. So yeah, that's kind of where I'm at. 7-8, 7.5. Okay, next up we have Anne and Keo. They do a quick step. Quick step is tough. Holding a frame is tough, especially for a a female celebrity, it's hard to maintain that the entire time, and I just think this dance got a little bit out of control for Anne. I think that she just kind of lost it a little bit. She did say that she slipped in there. I could kind of tell where the slip was, and I just feel like it kind of threw her off. She didn't feel like it didn't seem like she was on top of her feet. And I actually really loved a comment that Derek gave where he said, I want you to try to do this in the studio by yourself first and get on top of your feet. Feel confident doing the steps on your own, because then when she gets with Keo, it's just going to enhance it and make it that much better. But it's important that, especially like for the celebrity, that they know their steps on their own so that they're a little bit more confident. So I loved that critique, and that's something that I actually try to do with my partners, like go through the steps by yourself. I want to make sure, I want you to know that you know what you're doing so that you don't think that you're just relying on me, because then you'll feel more confident out there. So I think that would be really awesome for her to try. I love her and Keo though. I think they have a lot of fun together. And I love Anne's respect and love for Keo. Like, you can tell she just adores him and respects everything that he says. And that's a really, really good trait to have as a partner. So yeah, they got 555, which it's low, but I do agree, because I just feel like this one got a little bit out of control and it wasn't her best. So I agree, but I know that she can be better and she will come back stronger. Okay, next up we have Brandon and Jeannie. Oh my goodness, this was one of my favorite dances of the night. I love Up. I think it's the cutest dance ever. I love that they were dressed like grandma and grandpa. Like, I loved that they went for it. The costuming was so beautiful. The choreography was beautiful. Jeannie looked so graceful. I think she looked the most comfortable in this style than she's looked this entire season, which is so cool because it's new. This is the first time she was in frame and doing anything more graceful. So it's very cool to see that side of her. I think graceful-wise, turn-wise, I think she's improved so much. I do think her hands do kind of funky things sometimes, so I think that's one thing that she can work on. But other than that, I mean, this was just a really great dance for her, and I'm so happy that she had this moment because it was her fiance's birthday. It was dedicated to him. I think that is so special, so sweet. And then I just love her stealing the 8 paddle after she got her 8. I'm like, you are the funniest. She's awesome. They got 7, 7, 8. I was so happy she got an 8. I would have been really bummed if it was all 3 7s. I would have given an 8 as well. I could have seen maybe one more up there, but I'm just happy that she got one. Okay, next up we have Daniela and Nellie. This was a really fun take on Nellie because I was like, okay, we're gonna slow it down, do a foxtrot, and I just love his charisma and like his attitude while dancing. He always brings a little bit of himself to whatever style he's doing, which is really cool, and it's really hard to do, so I'm glad that he's finding a way to do that. I will say, I just think he can kind of open up a little bit more and get more into like the details. He's doing the steps and he's performing. So now I just want to see those little like details being added in there that just kind of take it from like that was a good performance to, oh my goodness, Nellie's like turning into a dancer. So that was the only thing. I loved this song. It's always hard when you get the Disney song that hasn't even been released yet. That's happened to me a couple times because you're worried that people may not connect to it, and it's different because it's not a song or a movie that everybody knows. But I thought this was such a fun song for him, and I feel like it really worked with the choreography, and their costumes looked great. So yeah, they gave them 666, which I think is honestly a great and fair score for the level of difficulty and also like the amount of details. I think that's where maybe we could just improve a little bit, is just focusing a little more on the fine-tuned details to make it, just to show how much he's into it, because I know he is. I know that he's dedicated to this and he wants to be better, so I'm excited to see him continue to just dive in more and more. Next we have Carol and Pasha. I have to give all my love and like respect and everything to Pasha. He goes in. I mean, did you see his costume? Now, not even just his costume, his makeup. He had full-on prosthetics. I mean, he looked like a lion. It was amazing. I love his commitment to literally every single thing that he does on the show. It's very fun to watch. This was definitely not the best samba I've ever seen. I think Pasha, again, does such a good job of helping his partners feel confident and comfortable, which is very hard to do when someone has a skill level as low as Carol did. I think it's so impressive that it wasn't a great samba. I mean, she was not doing the technique the way, I mean, she did the steps, but she didn't really have the essence of samba, but she looked confident and she looked happy out there, which is really hard to do. So I just have to commend Pasha on helping her find a dance and find the steps and movements that where she could still feel confident and still look like she's enjoying herself, even though maybe it wasn't the best dancing. I just think he's so good at that. But yeah, like I said, there wasn't a lot of like samba action in there. She did do all of her steps. She did not miss a step or miss a beat, which is very impressive, and kudos to them for that. But yeah, it wasn't the best samba. Yeah, that's all I got. They got 5, 4, and 3. I was a little confused. I'm like, okay, let's stick with like the same number here. I think I would have given, yeah, more close to a 4. I think 4, obviously 4 was the average number, but that's kind of my opinion. Again, I mean, this is no hate. It's just, yeah, it is what it is. And I think I do want to just, again, say, Pasha, you are a freaking gem. You're awesome. You do your job very well. So good job on that. And yeah, that's that. Okay, next up we had Caitlin and Artem. I was super excited to see this dance. I knew it would be good. At this point, I have high expectations for Caitlin. I know that she's going to get the choreography. I know that's never going to be an issue for her. The key now is that she has to dive into each style, and I think she did exactly that with this rumba. She was so graceful, so emotionally invested in it. I have to agree with Derek. I totally get it though. I mean, especially after she's like, well, it's an ankle, it's injured. I'm like, oh yeah, that makes sense. But I love to see a rumba, especially with someone who is as good as Caitlin. Like, her leg action, hip action, I think would have been enhanced even more had she been dancing in heels. And I just think it would have brought even more of that like feminine quality that the rumba brings, which I love. But I get it was Moana, she has her ankle, I totally get it. But I'm like, I kind of want to see her do a rumba later on in the season because I think this was so beautiful, and I'd love to see her do it in like a ballroom gown and heels. They got 878, which I think is a great score. I think Derek gave a 7 because I feel like he just maybe didn't feel like it was as rumba-y, which I totally get. It is Disney night, so you kind of have liberty to have fun with the styles, but at the same time, like, it's a rumba, so you want to make sure you're showing enough of that. And I can agree that it was more of a contemporary style rumba, which I love. I'm biased towards, so I liked it. I would have given an 8 as well. Next up, we have Vernon and Peta. I was so happy after this dance. I feel like this is the dance I've been waiting for from Vernon, where we could see his smile, because it is 1 in a million. I mean, he's got the best smile ever. And we got to see his personality and see him really dive into a character of a dance. I think it was just so perfect for him. Peta did such a great job with the storytelling. The costuming was awesome. And he did a very good job in the quick step. He maintained his frame. His footwork was all correct. It was a little bit flat-footed, I will say, so it just maybe was a little bit clunky in places, but he did all the steps. He had a great frame. He performed the heck out of it. I was just so happy. I loved everything about these two tonight. They got an 8, 7, and 7. I loved that they got 1 8. I would have given an 8 as well, and I think this was a good score for them. Okay, next up we have my favorite dance of the night, Neve and Jenna. They did an Argentine tango. I had a feeling this one would be really awesome. When I heard from Jen that they had Argentine tango, I was like, yes, I think he's going to absolutely kill this. And I knew he was going to dive into the character, and oh my goodness, did he dive into the character. He was like, not just diving into Argentine tango character, but also incorporating Jack Sparrow. He didn't just dive into the Argentine tango character, he like truly played the Pirates of the Caribbean character. It was so impressive. I just absolutely love this routine. And I have to echo what Carrie Ann said. A lot of times, and I do this too, Argentine tango is a really hard style to teach, and it's hard to make look good when you're just doing steps. Argentine tango is a style that you can put lifts in. So a lot of times, if someone maybe needs some help with like a wow factor, you do a really cool lift. But what was so cool is Neve didn't need lifts. He made the dance special with his movement and with his performance quality, and I just think they absolutely nailed it. They got 3 8s, which is awesome. I mean, that is the highest score of the night, and I was so impressed. It was well deserved. I totally would have given it an 8 as well, and I just cannot wait to see what these two do together because their partnership is just beautiful. Okay, next up we had Johnny and Britt. I was super excited for this. The package was so sweet. I think what Johnny said about his family and how they supported him really hit home with me because I feel the same. I mean, my parents literally have done everything for me so that I could pursue my career, and they've been there every step of the way, and that was just really special. So I knew this dance was going to be very meaningful to him, and it was so beautiful. He performed it so well. I think his figure skating aspects really came in handy with this routine because he was very graceful. You could see those leg extensions that he was doing, and I really, really enjoyed this. They also got 888. For performance quality alone and emotion, 8 is totally the score I would have given. I do feel that it was a little bit more of a balletic rumba, not as much Latin rumba. So I would love to see him attempt a rumba again and be a little bit more show a little more of the Latin aspect of that style because I feel like it was definitely different. But again, it's Disney night, so you're kind of adding to these styles to make them match the story that you're telling. So I totally get it. Okay. Next up, we have Jessie and Sharna doing a jive. Geez, I just have to say, Jessie has been given some really tough dances for the first couple of weeks, and I've been super impressed with how well he's handled it. I do think the jive was a little bit out of his comfort zone. You could tell that he wasn't like fully confident in every single step that he was taking, but like he said, and like I feel like it wasn't really pointed out, last week's show was on Tuesday, which means all of the couples had one less day to learn their dances, to master the choreography, to get comfortable with it. And believe it or not, one day can truly make or break a dance. Like, there are some weeks on the show where if you didn't have one more day of rehearsal, you maybe wouldn't have been able to actually get out there and perform. So I totally get that, and it does take away from the time spent being able to get confident and comfortable in the routine. I thought the dance was super cute, though. I think he performed so well. I love watching him dive into the characters of the routine. Like I said, the jive was just a little bit off. I think he wasn't super confident with his steps, and the timing felt a little bit weird, but his commitment to the performance was awesome. They got a 7, 6, and a 7. I agree with this score. I would have given a 7, but I also see the 6 coming into play where the jive, the actual jive, the dancing wasn't as good as it could have been, I don't think, but the performance was still really fun, and he went for it. Okay, and last but not least, we have Gleb and Chriselle. I was super excited because I saw her at the very beginning of the show. She looked stunning. I mean, she makes a perfect Cinderella, and Gleb, just the classic prince. I mean, he literally is, I think he has the prettiest face that has ever existed. Like, he just speaks prince. Like, you look at him, you're like, yeah, makes sense, Disney prince, Gleb. But I, again, was really impressed with her. Week after week, she's diving more into the show. She's diving more into the characters. You can tell she's committing more and she's giving it more, which is so cool to see, and that's what you want. And I think this dance was very graceful and beautiful on her. I think her frame and her extension of her chest and opening up those arms and presenting herself is where she could just get a little bit more confident. And I think that just comes from, you know, she still does rely on Gleb, and you can tell that she's very much like, she's grabbing onto him, she's hunching over just a tad, but her stage presence and her confidence is boosting every single week, and I love to see that, and I can't wait for it to continue to do that. They got a 7, 7, and 8. I was actually impressed with the 8. Not that I don't think they deserved it, but just I thought, whoa, okay, yeah, Bruno, giving her an 8. But I do believe that the 8 came from just the genuine care that you could see she was putting into the routine and the elegance that she was portraying. I think that's a really cool thing that she's worked on that so much, because I know that's not natural for her. I think I probably would have given a 7 just because I would have looked at the things that could have been a little bit better, and 7 is still a really good score, and I do think she has some more things to learn. So yeah, well, that's the end of the dances. Then obviously we had the bottom 2 were actually the same as the bottom 2 on the leaderboard, which is always interesting when it happens like that. So we had Anne and Keo, and we had Pasha and Carol. Now, I had no doubt that they would save Anne and Keo, all 3 unanimously. I would have been a little bit confused if they didn't, just because Anne has shown more progress and has had better, stronger dances throughout the season. but of course I am sad. I'm just really gonna miss Pasha and his commitment and his costumes. I was so excited to see what other cat-related reference they could do for their week next week and the weeks to come. So I am gonna miss that entertainment, but I am glad that Anne and Keo are staying, because I do think Anne has more potential and has shown that she is going to make a name for herself in this competition. So yeah, that's what I think. This was a super fun episode. I'm not gonna lie, sitting on my couch, I'm like, oh, I miss being a Disney princess for a night. I was literally in this exact same sweatpant outfit, so. It's Casual Tuesday, everybody. Woo! It's gonna get more and more casual the closer I get to having our baby, because wearing nice, cute clothes is not really my jam at the moment. But thank you so much for tuning in. Again, please leave any questions you guys have about the show that you have for me in the comments. I do read them. I'm gonna go through them. I'll pick some for next week, and I'll see you guys next time.